Welcome to Nature Labs. I'm your host, Simon Jackson. And of course, tonight is a big night for the province of British Columbia. The Vancouver Canucks got their second win of the season. Okay, it's not about Canucks hockey, it's about the BC election. But I was born and raised in BC, and BC has a special place in my heart, especially the Vancouver Canucks. But all eyes tonight are on the province for different reasons, and that's the impending results from the election campaign between the NDP's David Eby and John Rustad's BC Conservatives. By all accounts, it's a tight race. And you might be wondering, if you're living in New Brunswick or Saskatchewan or Ontario, why should you care about BC? Well, the reason you should is because this race is being looked at as a political bellwether. That means it's sort of a testing ground for politics and policies that might play out in the upcoming federal election, which, as you all know, is just around the corner. So this election matters on a federal level. Of course, as you also know, if you're studying social studies right now, the provinces have a huge role in our confederation. That means that the policies that they've developed in their own provinces can impact the federal agenda. So if the Prime Minister wants to, say, impose a carbon tax, maybe the provinces disagree and have a different policy. And certainly John Rustad has a different one than Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, or even current Premier. We'll see how long that lasts with David Eby. But this election also matters for other reasons. The big focus of this race has been affordability and livability, the housing crisis and the drug crisis, and what should be done about it. And for that reason, the incumbent NDP is in a bit of trouble. It's a very tight race. And now many people have probably been telling you that this could be the first time the Conservative Party could rule in BC in decades. It's not quite true. Conservatives have actually ruled in BC for much of the province's history. They just had different names. The Progressive Conservative Party, the Social Credit Party, even the BC Liberal Party, for a long time was what's known as a free market coalition between federal Liberals and federal Conservatives. But this version of the Conservative Party, the BC Conservative Party, led by John Rustad, has kind of come out of nowhere. You see, the BC Liberals, who long governed the province, recently changed their name to BC United. That didn't go so well, as you probably heard. And Kevin Falcon, their leader, decided to wrap up the campaign midway through this political campaign and toss his support behind John Rustad, who, by the way, he kicked out of the BC United caucus once for denying climate change. So now John Rustad leads his own party. He's taken it one by one step and actually built something that could lead the province after this next election. David Eby, of course, is the incumbent premier. His party, the NDP, have been in power for the last 2 terms. The majority of this government that he'd been overseeing for the last while. He took over from John Horgan, who retired after a cancer scare. And previous to that, they ran a minority government in BC with the Green Party. Tonight, though, it's a tight race. The polls say it's about 45% support for the NDP to 43% to the BC Conservatives. Of course, those final poll numbers might not mean the race is actually quite so tight in the seat race. And of course, the seat race is all that matters in our first-past-the-post political system. So all eyes will be on how the polls reflect in actual reality, in seat breakdowns, and we'll find out those results very soon because BC's implementing a new election counting tool. They're counting the ballots electronically. So they say we'll have the results about an hour after the polls close at 8 p.m. Pacific time. So for all those reasons, the eyes will be on BC. We'll find out which party gets to hold power and what policies they'll promote, which of course will address affordability and livability, not only in BC, but will be that bellwether for the entire country. And on top of that, the environment has played a big role in this race. Each party has talked extensively about climate change and biodiversity. That's impacted policies that you've probably seen in your inquiry media, including conversations like Nature Needs Half and conversations around ethics and how we should divide up precious resources. All of those issues have been on the ballot, and whoever wins tonight will have a long way of saying what happens to those policies not only in BC, but federally. Because again, provinces have a huge amount of power, and tomorrow, of course, in Cali, Colombia, it'll be the 16th gathering of the Convention of the Parties of the Convention on Biological Diversity. So many eyes of the world, in fact, will be looking to BC and how these policies play out with voters in the province of British Columbia. And we'll find out those results soon, so long as everyone can get to the ballot box, because today was quite a rainy day in BC. It was an atmospheric river. And of course, that was a term we didn't know a few years ago, but now we do. So the environment playing many roles in this race, not only in the policies, but also in how people are actually getting to the ballot box or floating to the ballot box.